Nice timing on that. And yeah, so all our meetings, hold on. All our meetings are recorded and posted on our website and on the District 7 Toastmasters YouTube channel. Our club has the elements of a typical Toastmasters club. We've got prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluations. We've modified these elements to support our goal of growing our public relations skills. And if everybody could please mute themselves, I can hear some background noise. That will really help. So to further support internal public relations, we've added mini engagement sections to the meeting. So for the prepared speeches, we focus on public relations related topics. These tend to be longer than 5 to 7 minutes. Table topics are designed to support the public relations of our home clubs. We regularly feature Flash Like, Show Us Your Page, and Dear PR Masters. These table topic sections are explained later in the meeting. Since we're here today, we don't always have every single we don't always have all of these same kind of table topics every time, but we change it up a lot. That's part of what we do. We're experimental. Evaluations are key to continued growth and improvement in any organization. In the interest of time, Public Relations Masters, PR Masters, has eliminated all counter and grammarian roles. We still have timer, speech evaluations, and general evaluations. So mini engagement. At PR Masters, we seek to engage and involve all the people attending. That's why we've added experimental mini engagement sections to the meeting. Examples are Mentimeter, a prompt for feedback in the chat, or like we did last time, a brief chair dance party. Expect the mini engagement sections to be different at every PR Masters meeting. We like to shake things up here. Like all Toastmasters clubs, we're unique and learning as we go. So welcome to PR Masters. Thank you for being here. I think we have a few brand new people. I saw someone, Penny is a guest. Can you unmute yourself and tell us what brought you here tonight?
Hi, everybody. I am a Toastmaster at New Horizons, and several of your members talk about PR Masters all the time, Marin in particular. And I usually teach at night on Thursdays, and now I have a morning class, so I'm so excited I can come.
Yay! We're so happy you're here. Do we have any other guests tonight? Maria, I think we've seen you before. I'm sorry if I don't remember if you're a member or if you're a returning guest.
Yeah, I attended once.
She's our newest member.
That's right. You're our brand new member. Awesome.
Yeah.
We're so excited we have another member. Okay, with that, we want to take this time to welcome you as a new member and vote you in. So everyone,
thank you.
Yeah, all the people who are members of the club, please send a chat directly to Carissa. And if you don't know how to do that, you click on the 3 dots in Carissa's window and click on chat. And then just vote yes or no if you want to have Maria Mendoza as our newest member. And then Carissa's going to tally that. And while she's doing that, we'll see if we have any other visitors tonight. Anybody else a new person, a visitor?
I believe Thompson is new.
Tamsin, that's right. You are a guest, aren't you? Tamsin, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what brought you here tonight?
Sorry, I'm going to stay off camera. My dogs just basically spilled everything all over myself. So hi, I've been a guest before and I'm looking forward to today, but I need to now clean up my computer.
Okay, great. Well, we're really happy you're here. Charlie, it sounds like you're a guest as well. Charlie, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what brought you here tonight?
Yes, I'm the former brief area director of 54, but I am buying my brother's house in Tennessee. So I'm now technically an inactive member of Civil Tongues Toastmasters. And in about 3 weeks, I'm moving 2,400 miles to the southeast. Next time I see you, it'll be from rural Appalachia.
Wow. So what was it that brought you here tonight? I know you've come before.
Yeah, since I'm on my way out, I was the newly minted VPPR, have never done it before, very little, no, virtually no experience. I'm here to invite anyone who has extra time to consider joining Civil Tongues and become their VPPR, because they could use the help. And
Cool.
on my way out, and I want to at least invite people to help my club out since I won't be there. I'll be too busy moving, setting up house.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, welcome. We're really happy to have you. And I see Emily Myers is here. She's our area director. So she's doing our area director visit tonight. Thank you for coming, Emily. Do you want to say anything? And yeah, we're really happy to have you.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I'm a little bit late, everybody. I was coming off of another meeting, and sometimes meetings just run over on Zoom. But I'm really happy to be here. I had a really great time the last time I was here, and I expect to have just as good of a time tonight with you all. And I'm excited and looking forward to the meeting today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, with that, I'd like to, well, do we have the tally of our votes? Carissa, do we have a new member?
We definitely have a new member.
Excellent. Yay, everybody welcome our new member, our newest member, Maria Mendoza. Really happy to have you. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, so with that, I'd like to hand it over to our Toastmaster for tonight, David Shehorn. Go ahead, David.
Well, thank you, Madam President Andrea. So the meeting tonight, we have 2 speakers, and it should be an adventure because that's what we're doing. We have the meeting theme of open houses and special events, and we want to encourage people to do that because that's one way to attract new members. I would like to introduce the timer and have Fred explain the meeting role for the timer.
Thank you, David. I am the timer tonight, and I didn't get the time for the second speaker, but I'm going to be using cards tonight since my background doesn't work. So who's our second speaker?
Matthew, 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, Matthew. Both of them are 8 to 10 minutes.
8 to 10, that's what I needed to know. Okay, 8 to 10. So at the 8-minute mark, at the 8-minute mark, hold on, I have to change my background here. They're going to see the green card. Let me go to none here. They're going to see the green card. 9 minutes, they're going to see the yellow card. And at 10 minutes, they're going to see the red, at which point they have 30 seconds to wrap up. Evaluator, which is Adam, and who's the other evaluator? They have 2 to 3 minutes. Who is it?
I am Emily Romano.
Emily, okay. And Emily, they're going to see the green card at 2 minutes, the yellow card at 2.5, and the red at 3, at which point you have 30 seconds to wrap up. And we do table topics 1 to 2 minutes, right? So yes. Table topic speakers, green at 1, yellow at 1.5, and red at 2, which you have 30 seconds to wrap up. And I'll give my report when called upon by the general evaluator. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster David.
Thank you, Fred. With that, I would like to introduce our first evaluator, and that will be Adam, and let him introduce Maren's speech. Take it away, Adam.
Thank you, David. Am I audible? Awesome. Thank you. Okay, excited to take up the evaluator role for the first time in this club. So our first speaker today is Maher Ziba. Maher has been a Toastmaster for 4 years. Her first Saturday morning meeting at New Horizons Toastmasters in Tualatin, Oregon, US was a Halloween celebration. She met James Bond, so I'm meeting him tomorrow at the theater, multiple clowns, and a questionable priest. Wow, interesting. Clearly, this group of characters caught her attention, and the rest is history. Today, Maher is going to speak to the value of having events, but also keeping it simple, especially in times of stress. No matter the size of your club, keeping it simple will make your event sustainable and achievable. Audience members, a round of applause for Maher Ziba, keeping it simple.
Please welcome Maher Ziba, keeping it simple. Keeping it simple, Maher Ziba.
Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to see you all here tonight. Keeping it simple. I'm keeping it simple because I want to see all of your faces. When we use our technology, sometimes it prevents us from connection. And what are our events for? But for connecting with people. And how do we get members? By connecting with people. And how do we keep our members? By generating things that keep our members, that they're interested in, that they want to know about, that they're excited about. So I have an exercise for you right at the beginning of my speech. I'd love for you to utilize the chat. Once again, the chat is pretty easy. Most of us are pretty good at that at this point. Put in an event that you've done in the past that you thought went really well, or an idea for a future event. And the goal here is that by sharing with each other, we might inspire each other to try that in our own club. So I'd love to see some event ideas come in. And I have to say, I was president of my club last year, and so many good events didn't come from me. They came from my members. We had an amazing holiday event that was reminiscent of our in-person. I'd say it was even better. We did a white elephant exchange that had no limit in what you could give each other. The stories that happened, what an amazing experience. Bringing everyone together. What was that event for? It was for our members to feel good and to feel connected. As we grew last year, we worked as a team to put on a magic meeting. We had a member interview her daughter, and our membership was interested because, lo and behold, we have magicians in our club. And we drew a great crowd. And they practiced doing events, and they did a great job. What's that next step that we can do at New Horizons? It's how do we then translate the value that we get from our club in our events when we're speaking? What do I get from my clubs? I practice off the cuff speaking a lot because in my work world, I have to consistently speak well off the cuff. How do we keep our events simple? It's so easy to complicate things when we are working remotely. There are a lot of gimmicks. There are a lot of things we can do, and they're fun to try. But I think it's important to remember that right now, we're still in a pandemic. There's still a lot of underlying stress. And how can we make it simple for our small clubs, our big clubs, and make it doable, achievable? I am seeing some great ideas coming in here. There's open houses, of course. There are end of year celebrations, humorous open houses. And I would recommend that at some point in this meeting, possibly at the end to capture as much as possible, you hit the little 3 dots in the chat and you hit save chat. And that way you will capture what we're learning here and take it away with you. Once again, I didn't have time to create my flyer. There's a lot going on for all of us. Every time I talk to someone and it's like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe how my day went today. So these simple things we can do help us reduce our stress. Connection during a pandemic, connection at any time. It's about people. Why do I stay in my club? It's about great connection with people. So how do we set up events, and how do you do it as a really small club? Starts with an idea. So if you're the person with the idea, think about who in the group can help you with your idea. And ask them, ask for help. I think in our next speech with Matthew, he's going to talk about asking for help beyond your club when you're super small. How can you reach out and make your world bigger by making more connections? You can bring in a special guest. You can feature a speech that you thought was really good by a member, and won't they feel good that you thought their speech was good enough to be the event speech? How can we make each other feel really good right now and feel like, wow, I'm learning in my public speaking and people appreciate me in my club? At our events, how do we prep people? I've noticed the District 7 has an incentive, right, Jim? And it says a month in advance. That's 4 weeks to lay the groundwork for what you need to do to get ready. Because one of the key things that sometimes we're not so good about is asking and inviting. Key step to all of this. So you have your idea. You have a good event title. Maybe generate some value statements as to why someone would come to this meeting. What's exciting? And generate a paragraph. And if that paragraph, after you write it, is boring to you, rewrite it. Rewrite it. Also, sometimes we get a little stuck in correct English, capitalizing correctly, when we sometimes need to write it so it's visually engaging. So think about capitalizing inappropriately. It's okay, because someone might grab it and read it. And that's what you're trying to do, get people to read it. Next up, simple, right? What do you have to get people in the meeting? The meeting link. So if you're not the Zoom master, the technologically savvy one of your club, don't worry. I'm sure someone in your club has that meeting link and they can help you out. But what if you're not on Facebook? We talk a lot about social media here. We talk a lot about how to connect in this virtual world, but what if you're not there? You don't have the bandwidth. You feel like, I can't do that right now. I'm guessing you have email. There's some way that your club communicates. And use that tool. Set up your members with that copy that you have, with that Zoom link. And you can even pop a photograph on there if you find one that seems appropriate to the meeting. Doesn't need to be amazingly branded, okay? Watch out for those barriers that we put up in front of ourselves. So there are expectations, and we hear about it in our trainings, Toastmasters branding, all this stuff. Well, that's great, but maybe you're not there yet. So do something. Start with something, and you'll get better over time. All right, great copy. Making sure you have that link. Asking your members for help. Tell them, hey, this is why we do this. Could you email 10 people? Could you invite your colleagues at work? Maybe your colleagues would love to hear what you do. And at our last meeting, Greg Scott said, you too can do. Invite 2 people a week. They won't necessarily come, but do it every week, every day. Set a goal and try it, and over again. Invite, talk about Toastmasters, talk about the value to you. Come up with your own story of why you come to Toastmasters. Follow up. I personally am a big fan of the registration link. I know it frustrates some people, and it's a hem-haw. I understand their viewpoint too. The nice thing about the registration link is the moment they receive that email, they can register for the event. And you now have a record of their email. So in the meeting, you can say, hey, by the way, I'm going to follow up with you with how to come to the next meeting. Because then you can follow up, and you've told them you have their email address. They're not going, oh, they collected my email address and didn't tell me they were going to send me something. You've told them up front, hey, I'm going to follow up with you. It was lovely to see you at this meeting. And it's easy. I didn't say prepare your follow-up email ahead of time. You can do that. But if you didn't get to that step, you can do it after the meeting and send them a nice personal message. Oh, by the way, Maria, it's lovely to meet you at our meeting. I happen to have followed up with Maria on LinkedIn when she came a couple meetings ago, and I knew she was interested in our club. I didn't know if she'd join. She was interested, but she had questions. And here she is. She's a new member today. Fun events. So we're stressed. Make it fun. And you know what's key? Is if your club meetings are consistently good. If you're having good meetings, your events are going to be great too, because your meeting following the event will also be good. It'll be different from the event meeting, but it'll still bring those Toastmasters skills that we're all gaining from being here. How do you consistently have a good meeting? You know what? Meetings aren't necessarily perfect. And showing graciousness when things go off the rails or someone makes a mistake is inviting to people who think, I might make a mistake. So don't worry about everything being perfect. Worry about making connections with people. Keep it simple. Be gracious to yourself and plan an event. Have fun with your members, something you're going to enjoy. And by the way, New Horizons has a Halloween event coming up if you're interested in coming and seeing us. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Maren. That was very interesting. I like the idea of recalling what our last guest said was you two can do two. So invite two. Take it to the next level. Next, I would like to invite our mini engagement master number 1, Bill Maher, to tell us what you're going to do. As I recall, you're the mini engagement master. You've got yourself listed.
I thought I was the Zoom master. I didn't think I was the mini engagement master.
Oh, you've got MEM up there on your name. So, oh, okay.
As a member, yeah.
Oh. Well, it looks like mini engagement master to me. Well, okay. And if you don't want to do that, then we're going to do private. We're going to take a minute for a private chat to Maren with words of encouragement and praise. So, Mr. Timer, will you give us 1 minute, Fred? Okay. Private chat. Okay, thank you, Fred.
Fine.
Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be is Matthew Douglas, and Matthew is going to be introduced. His speech is going to be introduced by Emily Romano. Please introduce Matthew Douglas with his speech.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My fellow Toastmasters, as we know, an open house is an important tool for adding new members to a Toastmasters club. For a small club with 12 or fewer members, this task can be daunting. It's made more difficult by COVID-19 and the fact that many clubs are meeting online or in a hybrid format. Matthew Douglas, DTM, is here to share how a small club can attract new members by hosting not just a virtual open house, but an open month. Matthew's speech, the virtual open house, is 8 to 10 minutes. Matthew Douglas, the virtual open house.
Matthew Douglas, a virtual open house. Virtual open house, Matthew Douglas.
Right, so I'm going to start with a quick poll here. How many of you belong to a club with 12 or fewer members? Show of hands? A few of us? Okay. If you look broadly at the statistics for District 7, where this club is located, just short of about half of our clubs fall into that category. They are clubs that are at risk, and particularly with COVID, they might have 12 members on paper, but they don't necessarily have that many showing up to every meeting. So for them, hosting an open house can be a very difficult proposition. And open houses are certainly important, right? First, let's talk about the open house, why it's important. Second, let's talk about what we want to do instead. And third, let's look at the actual execution. What are the steps that you would go through in order to host an open month? So first, let's talk about the open house. We start with the eyes and the ears. In a traditional open house, you or I could have conversations with guests who come. We can engage them one-on-one. We can ask them why they're here. We can develop a rapport. That is nearly impossible to do in a Zoom meeting. I cannot have a side conversation with Penny right now. I could, but it would be very awkward. In a traditional open house, we can use our nose and our mouth to enjoy tasty treats, cookies or drinks, those kinds of things. That is similarly impossible to do in a virtual open house. I've tried. There are no virtual cookies. And finally, as Toastmasters, we have these happy little things for shaking hands, which we do all the time. Every time we change over the front of the room, every time we meet somebody new, we are shaking hands, we're developing rapport with them. Also, impossible to do online. Given that all our best tools have been taken from us, how do we have a virtual open house that actually works? My suggestion is that we take advantage of what this medium offers us. And that is the ability to bring in ringers. What we want to do is SEO, which is not search engine stuff. Stands for story. We want to bring in speakers or invite speakers who are going to be able to tell dynamic stories that grab people's attention. Notably, we want to use stories that are going to activate dopamine and oxytocin, that are going to focus their attention, allow them to bond with the speaker in some sort of a way. The E stands for evaluation. A speech has two parts. I'm giving part one right now, the speech. And part two is going to be my evaluation. It's the continuation of that story. We're looking for evaluations that are useful and constructive, that activate endorphins, those feel-good endorphins that allow us to use emotion and understand that somebody is caring enough about what it is that I have to say, how I say it, that they're going to write the conclusion to my story. The O stands for organization. One thing that Toastmasters has going for itself, that we have going for us, is we're organized. The meeting starts on time. The speeches follow time. It's a structured, safe environment that allows somebody to feel that they are safe and trusted with their desire to learn and to grow as a speaker, as an evaluator, as a meeting manager. These things, the SEO, are difficult to do for a small club. If you belong to a club that has 5 or fewer members, perhaps, showing up to a meeting regularly, you aren't necessarily starting on time. You have multiple members who are doing multiple jobs. I'll be the Toastmaster and speaker too, and the timer. So our ability, for example, to come off as being organized is highly suspect. So let's get into then how we have a virtual open house. So here's my suggestion. What you want to do is to work with a club that is successful. It could be a club in your area. It could be a club way outside of your area. And that's one of the advantages of Zoom. Right now, we have people who are guests and members who are many miles away. And truth be told, we could drop into a meeting that is many, many miles away and be a guest speaker, no problem. So to have this open house, what we want to do as a small club or an at-risk club is to seek out that larger club that can come in and give us the benefit of their expertise. They can provide us with a guest speaker. They can provide us with evaluators, timers, grammarians, all the things that will help an open house meeting go. Now, we don't have to worry about all the machinations of our specific meeting. We can focus on inviting people, following up with them, and making sure that we, through chat and other means, are able to connect with the guests that we have at our open house. This brings us to problem number 2. We had a great open house. Lots of guests showed up. A few of them even came to the next meeting, but we were back to 5 people. This isn't necessarily the welcome that we want to give people who we're trying to convert to be members. The way around this is to consider not just an open house, but an open month. By collaborating with a larger, successful club, you can offer them something that they don't necessarily get, which is a chance to have any role they want, a chance to get a speech at will. So we're not looking to just fill the open house. We're looking to fill the 4 meetings that follow that open house. So how do we do that? We invite them to our free toast host or easy speak, whatever it is that we're doing, and invite them to sign up for roles. We reach out to them. We attend their meeting as a guest, get a feel for their club and make sure it's a good match. By doing this together, we can ensure that we have a full month of programming after our open house. That any guests who return are going to continue to have a compelling, exciting experience in Toastmasters as it's meant to be experienced. The final piece, once you have your open house and your open month, is to consider open follow-up. This is not a great medium for making connections, and it has to be done other places. I suggest doing it in the places where you are already doing it. If it's folks that you work with, it's having conversations with them, and that might be conversations on Slack or on video calls one-to-one. It might be Facebook. or you have social friends who you think would really benefit from Toastmasters or would really enjoy hanging out with you in this sort of a environment. Truth be told, online meetings are hard. Online open houses are hard. But we do have a secret weapon in that we can invite people to break the rules of space and time and join us from potentially hundreds or even thousands of miles away. Let's take advantage of this as Toastmasters and ensure that any club that is struggling is able to host not only a successful virtual open house, but a successful virtual open month.
Thank you, Matthew. I assume that's the end. With that, I would like to ask our mini engagement master and our member, Joe Dudman, to do his little thing with mini engagement. Take it away, Joe.
Okay. I was going to do this at the end of the meeting, but I'll do it now. It's my chance to ask everybody to summarize the meeting in one word with a positive review, or one word that the meeting was not, as in you could say the meeting was inspiring, or you could say the meeting was not boring. So I'll go around the virtual room and ask everybody to review the meeting with one word. I'll start with I'll go in the order that I see people. So I'll start with Adam. Adam, could you review our meeting so far in one word?
Informative.
Great. Next up is our Toastmaster, David. Go ahead.
Engaging. David. Engaging.
Good, great. Next, our timer, Fred. What word do you have?
David took mine for engaging as well.
Okay, great. Next up, our guest member of the trio, Jim. Do you have a word for us?
Inspiring.
Great. Our illustrious president, Andrea, is next. Great. How about Elizabeth? What word do you have?
Inspiring.
Good. Zeta.
Jim's.
That's fine. Zeta, what's your word?
Archetype.
Next up, Marcy. What's your word today?
Knowledgeable.
Great. All right. Our excellent first speaker, Marin. What's your word to describe today's meeting?
Connection.
Good one. And speaker number 2, Matthew. How about you?
Awareness.
Great. Next, our guest, Penny. Do you have a word for us?
Interesting.
Great. That's good. Emily Romano, do you have a word for us?
Thought-provoking.
Great. Bill Maher, what word do you have for us today?
Growth.
Charlie, our guest, Charlie Kellerman.
Fascinating.
Awesome. Jennifer Schmidt, what's your word for us?
Collaboration.
Good. Our new member, Maria, do you have a word for us?
Insightful.
Great. Daniel Brewer.
Ideaful.
Excellent. Nicely coined. Our area director, Emily.
Heard it before, but it bears repeating. Inspiring.
Good. Good word. And our guest, Tamsin. Do you have a good word for us?
They did just steal it. I was hoping. So I'm going to say it 3 times. Ideas, ideas, ideas.
Great. Next up is Anne. What's your word? Oh, I'm sorry. You're muted, Anne.
Enthusiasm.
Good. Excellent. Birgit, do you have a word to describe the meeting for us?
Creative.
Good. And our secretary, Carissa, do you have a word for us?
Thoughtful.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, everybody. That was great. Good to hear everybody with a positive review. And I'll send it back to our Toastmaster, David. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Joe. I'm sorry I got you out of order, but you did a pretty darn good job.
No problem. Thank you.
And I would like to get a timer's report on the speakers. How do they do?
Okay. Maren went a little bit over. She was 10 minutes and 44 seconds. And Matthew was at 10 minutes and 15 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Next, I would like to invite, well, we're going to do what's called show your page. And I had a hard time getting to our agenda earlier, so I don't remember who that was. So who was going to do the show our page? Was that Emily? Emily Romano? I think somewhere along the line I wrote your name down there.
I did it a couple meetings ago.
Oh, okay. All right. So I got the agenda from somebody else, and I think they must have left your
Daniel.
name.
It's Daniel.
Okay, Daniel. Okay. All
Hello.
right.
Hello.
Hello, Daniel. So
Okay. So do you want me to just go, or?
If you want to share your page and show your page, do your stuff.
Sure. Okay, so this is a brand new club that just chartered in June as part of the June Charter Your Club Rush. And we've set this up on free Toast, obviously. And we actually had one live meeting in July or August, which was our charter ceremony, which we held outdoors at Cedar Hills Park here in Beaverton. And we managed to get one photograph. Carissa came out with her camera on a very windy day, and the pictures were tough because everything was blowing over. But we did manage to put a picture here. This club is kind of small. We're trying to get her going. So what we're hoping to do is, I do not have a web. I have a guy help me on the web, but right now I'm kind of a one-man show on this, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to dedicate to it. But what time I do have, I would sure love some help and tips on what I can do. Maybe there's some low-hanging fruit here on this website that can help me get the club promoted correctly. So what we have right now is I've got a members area that's fairly small up here. I do have the main menu. We did manage to take some pictures, so I got one picture of everybody that was there. We have about a dozen members active. Probably right now in the summer, we're still kind of on summer attendance. So I would sure love to use this to draw some people. We do show some, each month we do have a core topic for Toastmasters. So I need to update that obviously and change it to October. But we also try to highlight the meetings and who the speakers are going to be. And we try to get a guest speaker if we don't have a regular speaker scheduled. Most of our members are brand new to Toastmasters, so the speeches are still level 1 at this point. Jessie is a speech. She's going to be speaking on Monday, and she is going to have she hasn't given me her title yet, but I do want to keep this so people are knowing who's coming up. So I am open to feedback. What questions do you have?
Daniel, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Bill, Bill, would you like to navigate the question and answer so Daniel can listen and not worry about tracking the group? Would you be up for that, Bill?
Yeah, as people put questions in the chat, I'd be happy to do that.
Perfect. And people raise hands or whatever, but we've found in the past that sometimes it's hard to like listen and navigate doing your own website. And so that'd be great if you could just be the facilitator.
I can't see chat and share at the same time on the computer I'm on right now. So
I'll try and be your eyes then. How's
I
that?
appreciate it. Thank you.
Marcy has a question.
Okay, one thing I want to say, Daniel, I love what you're doing, that you're putting what is coming up in advance out there. I believe that's a really good thing to keep people engaged and to do that. I love the fact that for the short period of time that you have a picture of the members as they currently are, which is really great. I think having a little bit more perhaps of your story, find a way to add your story into what you are providing, a bit of your story and what your club is about. Just a bit, because every club has a different culture. So what is going to pull people in and what is going to appeal to people to be a member of your club? But overall, I think a great start. But the favorite thing that I like about it is that you are showing people what is coming up and providing that enticement for why they should be coming and being a part of it.
Thank you.
Emily Romano.
I love the photo. A lot of feedback we've heard is add photos of your members. As a suggestion, I think the specs are a bit off and the image is a bit skewed. You can see it a little bit here, but I pulled it up on my phone and it's more pronounced on mobile. So I suggest changing the proportions to percentages from integers.
Good idea. And Carissa took a number of pictures at this event. I may just switch the pictures up. This is the one that got most of the people in it though. So it's one I started with.
A great photo, just proportionally needs some adjustments.
Fred.
Yeah, something I learned last year when I was our district's public relations manager. I don't know if this is true for websites, but they said it about printed materials. And they said, when you're talking about Toastmasters or promoting Toastmasters, to not use cartoons. I know that's for printed materials. I don't know that that's true for websites or social media. So I'm just putting that out there. That's something I learned last year when promoting, and it's in the guidelines too. It specifically says printed materials. Like I said, I can't say the same thing for websites.
Okay. I'll check. Until we got our picture, that was the only art I had. So,
Andrea.
It's Andrea.
Andrea, my apologies.
No problem. Got it. Yeah. Well, what I really like is how simple it is at the top. So that makes it really easy to look at, and you don't have a bunch of stuff going on the left side or at the top. So I think I really appreciate the simplicity of it.
okay, thank you.
Our guest, Charlie.
Yes, I have a question actually. At the top of the page, it says we meet every Monday night, et cetera, et cetera. Now, how do you get the Zoom link to mention the name of your club? I was the Zoom master until last week for my club, and I set up a recurring meeting under my own account. So our link was just a Zoom, standard Zoom invitation link with the recurring meeting number. I don't know how you get a Zoom invite to list your club name. How does that work?
Well, you don't. That's a redirect on my domain host. I just added the Zoom. So if you have the big long link that ends in 09, that includes all the passwords and everything. And I just went to my domain host and added a redirect for Zoom. SunsetTalkers.club is our domain, And the Zoom one just takes you directly to the meeting. And that way I don't have to remember what the number is. And nobody else does too. And I'm using this now for another club. So we're probably going to have to redirect once I get that set up. A website can have a number of redirects, but this is really, if you click on this link, you're going to end up, it's going to change after it finds it. It's going to change to zoom.us/ the number and so forth. So it's just a redirect. It's not.
That's above my knowledge level. I don't.
It just makes it. It just makes it easier for people, and that way I don't have to remember a bunch of numbers, and it's easier for people to find.
I have to learn how to do that someday.
Great, thank you. Marin.
Charlie, I don't know about you, but he lost me on that one. I need an instruction sheet to know how to do that. I would recommend, because I'm a little confused, is this club a hybrid club or is it an in-person club?
Hybrid.
I would love to know up front that it's a hybrid club, that I have an option.
We at the moment we do not have a home, and so we can't meet live, and we've pretty much decided that nobody's going to let anybody into any buildings until the first of the year anyway. So we're still a Zoom club until we have a place to meet, and then we'll be hybrid. We tried this open house hybrid. In my opinion, we had mixed results with it, but the people that were on the other end of it said it worked well. So the people that were on Zoom said that they could tell what was going on. They could see good and everything. So we're still figuring out the hybrid piece, but the idea is it will be hybrid once we can be.
I think that's perfect because I actually saw posts about your club, so that confused me a little bit. So I would add something below your name that says hybrid or online for now, hybrid in the future. Something that's hopeful and future focused and what you're headed toward.
Okay.
I would also recommend, I'm wondering about this link. Does it go to a registration page or does it just go directly into your meeting?
It goes right into the meeting.
And I wonder about that. So what if someone's touring on Tuesday? Are they going to remember to go back next Monday to your website and your web page and come to your meeting? I wonder about putting that registration link on there because they'll sign up, they'll register, and it'll connect to their Outlook calendar. And it will be like, oh, it's on my calendar to go to this meeting next Monday.
Register how?
So when you set up your Zoom meeting on the back end, there is a spot where you can hit require registration. And that will generate the registration page, and they'll sign up, and you'll know ahead of time who's coming to your meeting. Sometimes members don't like this because it feels like a barrier to entry. I noticed recently that there's a second thing you can click that it could be register only once before having to do that again. And that may be a way to remove that barrier to entry, but it's a way to capture those new people who are just randomly on the internet looking at Toastmasters meetings. So that's one thought that I can give you.
Okay.
My other suggestion is that you have next meetings down below, but people lose track of time. So add the time where on your next meetings area in somewhere, repeat that. People lose the details sometimes and just repeat what the time is with the date, and that will be helpful to them. Like everyone else, I really enjoy having a people picture. And as you have online meetings, you'll be able to capture some screenshots of people and maybe do a gesture. Screenshots are super easy. And you can do the thumbs up, you can do the number 1, you can do the woohoo. And that'll build engagement and people connect to faces and seeing other people.
Marin, I'm going to have to cut you short. You're going on and on and on. So we're going to move on to the next section of the meeting, which is Dear PR Masters. And if you go ahead and stop this share. Thank you. And this one goes to Marcy, right? You're the Dear PR Masters, or Dear Abby for the day.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Our mini engagement sessions are table topics in PR Masters. You have 1 to 2 minutes to provide your response. Timer, if you would put the light up, green light at 1, yellow light at 1.5, red light at 2 minutes for people that are responding. We received a letter.
All right.
And that letter said, well, it came from Need a Game Plan. Dear PR Masters, we need help to increase membership. Due to the economic downturn and pandemic, club memberships have been continuously decreasing over the last few years. I don't see the trend changing this year. We averaged 15 members in our club before the October 1st membership renewal. However, several members didn't renew. And unfortunately, it's not only our club, but several others that now have less than 10 members. This leads to club meetings lacking quality. Because there's no quality, guests are not becoming members due to low energy meetings. Please help. Let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions for me. Signed, Need a Game Plan. Reaching out to you now, our wonderful Toastmasters and guests, based on all the wonderful insights we received tonight, who would like to respond to Need a Game Plan with some ideas? Elizabeth.
Bill.
Oh, Bill had an idea? Okay, Bill, go ahead.
Well, thank you. Dear Anita, thank you for your letter. And energy is a big thing. We talk about this in our New Horizons Club, using the space that you have, a strong voice, strong inflection. And every club has that one crazy member that will try new things. And we think about it in the Zoom environment. And one of the things that we used to do was have some sort of a squeaky toy or let people know when they're doing filler words. Well, he actually holds up signs, and, oh, and you can see the words up on the screen. He also does that with the word of the day. And so now a few more of us have gotten into that, into that habit. And one of the things that we do in our club consistently is everybody claps and applauds or waves hands as you transition to the next speaker, the next table topics person or whatever. So the more people that show more gestures and more energy will help to have a more inclusive feeling in the meeting, which helps members and guests feel like, hey, this is a cool place to be.
Thank you, Bill. I love that idea. I haven't heard of it before, and I think I'm going to grab it and take it away with me for my next meeting. Is there anyone else that would like to give Need a Hand some ideas? Emily? I see you raising your hand there.
It's actually petting the cat that I'm holding. What?
Animals make a real good addition to the club meeting as well.
One thing I can say is we encourage our club members that it's okay when you have minor interruptions. People like when pets come on screen when see how cute she is. And it lets people feel that our club isn't so formal. Sometimes people's kids will wander in and we take it all in stride. People feel encouraged to, if life happens, just keep going. And I think that helps a lot with the camaraderie of our meeting, and we extend that to guests so they feel encouraged to keep coming back, even if things like this happen, that we're not so stilted and formal with them. Just came from an open house of another meeting, and a similar thing happened where some chaos in the background, people just kept saying, and we asked the guests for some feedback at the end of the meeting, and they responded positively towards it being a more welcoming environment for that reason. So that inspires people to come back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your responsiveness. I didn't see the cat. Imagine that. But the cat came back. I've got time for one more quick response with this. Anybody else with a suggestion for need a game plan?
Matthew has his hand up.
Matthew.
I have seen clubs that use the role of a listener, somebody who takes notes and effectively creates a quiz. So they'll say, who in the meeting had a cat? And everybody will raise their hands and they shout out the answers, that kind of thing. And that can certainly make a meeting more fun and more interactive. It encourages you to fully engage and to really listen to the speeches, really listen to the evaluations, because you never know what the listener is going to ask.
Well, thank you everyone for participating and helping Need a Game Plan, because we all need a game plan, because it's about a team sport and gathering together. Thank you very much for all the support and coming together with this and the great ideas to take away. I know I'm going to create some and so signs moving forward. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Marcy. That was fun. Can we get a timer's report on the show your page in Dear PR Masters, unless the timer has run out of clock?
The show your page, I didn't write it down, but it was just over 7 minutes. It was like 7:08, somewhere around there. Do you need table topics times?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and how about the Dear PR Masters? How they do, more or less?
Yeah, those were the Dear PR Masters times. Bill was at 1:02. Emily was at 1:05.
No, okay. So that was just the overall was all I was looking for. Yeah, but thank you for keeping that. I want to turn the meeting over now to our general evaluator, Adam, and Adam is going to tell us what a general evaluator does.
I'm the general evaluator.
Oh, Jennifer. Okay. All right. No wonder he was so surprised. Oh, okay. All right. I skipped a line. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Please tell us what a general evaluator does.
General evaluator, and thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, runs the evaluation part of the meeting and the team to introduce them, and also reviews the entire meeting. So I've been taking notes throughout the entire meeting. With that in mind, I will introduce Adam Doss as the first evaluator for Maher Ziba.
Thank you, Jennifer. So first of all, I'll admit to a rookie mistake. I forgot to mention the evaluation criteria, which I was going to evaluate Maher on. So here goes. So the criteria she asked me to evaluate her on was inspiring the audience, about the actionable step she was going to give us, connection with the audience, and keeping it simple. And it was a part of our dynamic leadership pathway. Now, moving on to the evaluation. Right off the bat, I really liked her enthusiastic addressing of the crowd. And within 30 seconds or so, she jumped right into a question for the crowd, which led to a Rolodex of ideas showing up on the chat. So it served two purposes. It served her engagement and connection with the audience checkbox. So it helped create a connection with the audience. At the same time, also created a Rolodex of ideas for us to steal and implement at our own club. So that was a great double header idea. Overall, I think she did a really good job of inspiring, like, not just the crowd, but enabling us to inspire each other and help each other as we try to create a community around events and hosting successful events, not just at a Toastmasters club, but overall in general. So it really got the crowd going. So great job with the idea sharing aspect of it. The second aspect which stood out to me was the engagement with the ideas. So what I noticed was as the ideas kept flowing, around after a minute or minute and a half or so, she actually went back to those ideas and acknowledged them and engaged with them. So I think at some point I've heard this thing called active listening or active engagement. It's one of the pathways. So I understand this is actually a value in Toastmasters. So great job exemplifying that and engaging the ideas. It helps the crowd feel heard, and it adds color to your speech. So great job with that. I love to focus on connection during the pandemic, and her overall focus on connection, engagement really adds a human element to not just the speech, but it exemplifies that and essentially encourages us to take that forward into our speech and into our events when we actually host them. So that is a great value. And I think to one of our dear PR Masters speakers, engagement is king, right? So that is something we do want to uphold in our speeches. So great job enunciating that through your speech, Maher. A few quick areas to kind of challenge you. First is the Zoom frame. I thought your head was too close to the bottom of the screen, so maybe position yourself better on the screen. And the second one, I'm being really nitpicky. Your speech was filled with a lot of great ideas, but it makes me wonder if it's possible to categorize them into specific buckets. So I don't know if this is applicable to your speech today, but something to think of is, could you have like category 1, online steps for events? Category 2 could be, what steps can you take to engage the audience and build connection? Category 3 would be follow-up tips, something of that sort. So that's something I would like to challenge you with. But overall, the vibe I got from the speech was it really resonated with taking things in bite-sized chunks and keeping it simple. I feel like the audience will not feel super intimidated. And I think you did a really great job with make mistakes, get better, connect with people, have fun. So overall, it went with the vibe of keeping it simple. So great job, Maher. Thank you, and back to Jennifer.
Thank you, Adam. That was a great evaluation. We will now move on to Emily, who will be reviewing Matthew Douglas's speech. Emily, you have the floor.
Thank you, Jennifer. According to Matthew, I'm here to give part 2 of Matthew's speech. I found Matthew's speech tonight very energetic and engaging. The topic Matthew presented was very relevant. He spoke about a problem that plagues many clubs and backed that up by giving statistics about membership in District 7, where this club chartered. Matthew began his speech with a lot of nostalgia. Remember, my club used to plan open houses and say, we'll get a platter of Chick-fil-A nuggets and we'll have so many guests, we won't know what to do. Other clubs would get pizza party and say, surely if there's food, the people will come. At the same time, I wanted to mention Tamsin, I think, found a virtual cookie. So wanted to give her props for that. So maybe we can eat virtual cookies. You highlighted that though these tools have been taken away, we have opportunities to be resilient in what remains a very challenging time for a lot of Toastmasters clubs. You provided very tangible suggestions for what to do in order to bring guests in, act on the moments of truth, and to make sure they have a great experience as prospective members. Your suggestions for taking advantage of Zoom to bring in ringers is very strong. bringing in ringers was a challenge in the before times, and perhaps a little easier now when we can draw from great speakers from all over the world. I liked your SEO. I was imagining a graphic that could be created based on the stories, evaluation, and organization that our club might put out as advice for other clubs. I think your suggestions for partnering with a larger club to provide a symbiotic relationship, or to engage in a symbiotic relationship, is very, very good. We have the opportunity to get club coach when we're a small club, but also to partner in the way you suggest is kind of a novel idea and a way to build on the idea of club coaches. I think you finished with a strong CTA and left us feeling good about the daunting task of planning an open house if we're a small club. So thank you for the advice you shared, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Emily. That was great. Those are the evaluations. Mr. Toastmaster, do I turn it over to you or do my evaluation yet? Should I wait for my evaluation?
Well, I think you should get the timer's report on the evaluations and then give your evaluation.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Mr. Timer, could you please give the time, please?
Yes. Adam's evaluation was 4 minutes and 18 seconds. And Emily's was 3 minutes and 1 second.
Thank you so much. All right. For evaluation of the meeting. Started on time. That was great with Andrea starting us off. She did a nice job of doing an intro where she explained what we do as a club, when we meet, and the kinds of things that we do and the engagement involved. The introduction of guests was great because it's a nice way to welcome people. Everybody feels involved. And I thought that was very nice transition into getting going. So it's not just the members, the guests are welcome too. Toastmaster introducing the timer. The timer did a great job of introducing that role. And then the Toastmaster then introduced Adam, who talked about Maher. He did like an introduction, and then the Toastmaster did a second introduction after that. I don't know if that needed a little more coordination, so it's not like two introductions for the same speaker. Maher did great engagement with the chat. One thing, and you're not, as general evaluator, you're not supposed to review the speeches, but the one thing that stood out that the Adam did not pick up on is she did a preview of the next speech, which I thought was great thing to introduce. And then I took lots of notes. A couple of things that the evaluators did not mention for Matthew, or Emily did not mention for Matthew, was the filter. The filter in his speech made his hands disappear. So that's one thing I wanted to stand out. And then the structured, safe environment. That was like a key thing too. That could have been, but both evaluators gave a lot of specific ideas. And it's best when you can demonstrate, when you can get closer to the camera, show what you want on the screen, because it is limited in the box. The one-word review with Joe Dudman, that was great. Everybody got a chance to talk. I really enjoyed that. More timer report. The show your page. Without these awkward transitions, the best way to do that is to have a label before your name. So whatever role you have it in front of your name, and that way there's no confusion. There was a lot of differences with transitions. When Matthew ended his speech, for example, we didn't know exactly, we assumed he was done, but that made it a little tougher. So if you could say Mr. Toastmaster or something like that at the end of your speech, Matthew, that would help too. with the show your page, it was kind of an abrupt ending. Maren was giving lots of great suggestions. Instead of saying, basically, you've said a lot, we've got to move on. It's better to thank the person for making the suggestions and then say something to the effect, in the interest of time, we've got to go to the next segment. It doesn't have to be an abrupt transition. So that's what I would suggest for the next time. Marcy, you had tons of enthusiasm. I love that. That really comes off the screen, and that's needed in a Zoom environment. Adam and Emily, you both gave, like I said, great suggestions for the speaker. And I thought everybody really contributed tonight. They did a lot of suggestions, a lot of ideas. There's a lot of help. I felt the helpful environment in tonight's meeting. If we just smooth out the transitions and think about the Zoom box a little more, which I have to do too. Half the time I don't know where I'm looking, to tell you the truth. It's like there's no big light going, look here. But what we're doing is at least we're honest. When we're saying something isn't working, we say it. Like with Daniel, he was saying, I can't see this and that at the same time. And having Bill come in to help really made a difference. And it's not just Daniel doesn't want to do it. It's the fact that electronically it's not possible. So there are limitations. But if there's that helpful collaborative environment where we're all trying to do, a good job and be helpful, then that's what makes this club very valuable. And that is my evaluation. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Excellent evaluation, Jennifer. And she is right. I owe Maher an apology. I apologize for the abruptness. It was probably rude, but it was coming up on time, but I can still handle that better. So I have learned something. I'd also like to remind people that the evaluation and international speech contests are coming up in December, starting in December for the clubs, but the evaluation is of the individual, so you should address the individual as an evaluator. That maximizes your score when it comes to evaluation contest. So please remember that. Don't talk about them, talk to them. I have no further announcements, and I'd like to turn it back to our presiding. Oh, okay. Marcy has an announcement.
I saw the opportunity in the agenda that it said if anyone had announcements, they could provide them. Is that okay? With that, I'd like to share that as a member from Canada and in this digital environment, we have a great opportunity this Saturday, if you're available, to join us in Canada for playing a different tune. It's a speaker showcase. And at the speaker showcase, we have Cheryl Roosh, who is one of Toastmasters 88 accredited speakers. She is a DTM, and she is going to be talking on marketing like a pro, how to design an effective promotion. Great link for who we are as a club, and I believe it offers a lot, especially related to tonight's topic about events. And one of the things we heard, so many clubs are struggling with membership right now, and it'll be great when the dashboard is updated and we can see exactly where we're at after this renewal period. But Cheryl isn't the only one. We have also got Lance Miller, who was the 2005 World Champion of Public Speaking. If you haven't heard Lance, I don't know anyone else who provides as much practical wisdom on building a club. He's had clubs with over 80 members in them. And just when you sit in a session with him, it's absolutely brilliant. And then on top of that, Prez Vasilev, who was the 2013 champion, is going to be talked to how to uncover the glory of your story. I encourage you, I'll get the link and drop it into the chat for everybody. If you're interested, you could reach out to me, but I think it will be, a great session for people to participate and a great opportunity for further learning. And guess what? As Toastmasters, in this virtual environment, we get to go anywhere. And we're not restricted to just where we're at. I love that. I've been all around the globe. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Marcy. That's a good point. Last year, I was a judge on 5 continents. So you can do it. I also want to make one announcement. October the 22nd is the 97th anniversary of Toastmasters. So bring something to toast for whatever meeting you have that week. So toast the 97th anniversary of Toastmasters. Anybody else have announcements? And that was terrific, Marcy. Fred's got one. Go, Fred.
Oh, not an announcement, but I didn't get to announce the table topics times. If that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. I had Bill at 1:02, Emily at 1:05, and Matthew at 32 seconds.
Okay.
And by the way, yeah, the anniversary is 2 days after my birthday, just so everybody knows.
And any other announcements? I don't see any other hands raised. Okay, so back to our club president, Andrea.
Thank you so much, David. Great job. I wanted to give the guests an opportunity to tell us what you thought of the meeting. Tamsin, would you like to share with us?
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it. This is my second time coming to PR Masters, and I always get some nuggets each time I come, and it's wonderful because I get to see members from clubs, either as an area director or as a former club member. So it's nice to see people, catch up with people, but again, able to walk away with, again, ideas, and different nuggets that I can share not only with my club here in this district, but also throughout the different events that I'm doing through Toastmasters. And I did put an announcement in there. Let's Get Digital is a brand new club that's trying to charter, and our demo meeting is tomorrow night. So if you would love to stop by, registration is in the link. Thank you guys for being so welcoming.
Excellent. Well, you fit in great, and we would love for you to consider joining our club. Can someone put a application form in the chat just in case anybody here who's a guest would like to join? Also, Emily, would you like to give us what you thought about the meeting?
Sure. This is one of the more unique Toastmasters clubs I've ever had the pleasure of attending. I think one of the most interesting things for me was how you all handled table topics, because I saw on the agenda that there were the table topics 1 words, but then Dear PR Masters became the actual table topics. And that I thought was very unique. And as you saw, I was a little surprised about doing it, but I was ready for it. So I thought it was a really interesting and unique meeting, and I look forward to seeing you all have many more of them to come.
Thank you so much, Emily. We're really glad you're here. All right, how about Penny?
Thank you. Wow, I've heard a lot about this club, and I am just amazed that there really is, that you never know everything there is about PR, right? And so you have the perfect recipe to keep having interesting meetings. One thing I love that we don't do in my club yet is that you put the agenda in the chat up front so that as a guest, I could check it out. So I really appreciate that. And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Really, it was quite a pleasure. And Jim, you're also a guest of our club. Thank you. And I regret that I didn't introduce you as our president of our district, or
well, club growth.
I think director. I got that
District
wrong.
Club growth director.
Okay, so, right.
Yeah, and that's the reason I like visiting this club, is because it's all about PR, and that's what I'm supposed to be doing with the district, is helping with PR to grow clubs and grow members. And so I like to visit this club to learn things that I really should know in the district leadership.
Excellent. It's so great to have you again. Were there any guests that I missed? Anyone? Oh, Charlie.
Yes. I've always been impressed by every meeting I've come to, and although I am in transition, once I get it settled in rural South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, I shall join.
Woohoo! I'm really excited to hear that. And you saw our application form in the chat, right? And
I downloaded it.
All right, happy to know that. Excellent. All right, well, I think that's all we have for tonight. And if anyone wants to stay around and chat, we'll have a little opportunity for that. We're really happy you all came, and have a wonderful, wonderful night. See you next. Oh, I want to tell you, next month our theme is you have 3 seconds. We're going to be talking about writing for PR. So we'll look forward to having you at our next club meeting on the first Thursday of November.